All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. Thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully, you were able to get your goodies that we sent out. Have a little coffee with us and talk security here. We have our basically today's topic is cybersecurity and Securex. Obviously, we are partnering with Cisco. Jess, if you want to hit the next slide there. So my name is Tom Reynolds. I am Razor's Chief Technology Officer and also Information Security Officer. I am joined today by Jessica Lask from Cisco. She is a security specialist, and she will be talking through a lot of our materials today. So just wanted to give a quick intro as to why we're here today, how we chose the topic, and how we're going to address it. I know I see a lot of existing customers on the call here, some new faces as well. But those of you that have worked with Razor in the past, I think you're familiar with. We try and be full service. Basically a full service provider for our customers, and more or less think of things before you need to think of them, and get ahead and offer solutions. So throughout this period of this past year, what we found is that basically everything has changed for everyone. To put a very fun point on it, COVID has just changed the landscape across the board. And where that's been focused an awful lot is in the case of obviously remote workers, trying to secure them, trying to make sure that everything is in place to keep your businesses running and to keep them running securely. So how that's manifested is we've seen a lot of people that have kind of started to feel a little bit of stress on their existing environments, or wanted to expand some of their security footprint, looking at things like basically securing endpoints. We've got a lot of BYOD, we've got a lot of connections, a lot of VPN access, a lot of collaboration, and these are basically a lot of tools that people have either had to rethink or expand. And what we're hearing a lot of is people don't necessarily want to have a disparate group of applications. They don't want to chase 5 different vendors, run 10 different solutions, but they also don't want to need to manage everything separately. So what we're talking about today with Cisco is basically some of their endpoint security offerings, some of their bundles, and also some of their management platforms that will allow you to integrate all of those and bring it all together, simplify your life, and extend the solutions that you need to keep your business running. So on this slide, this is the requisite and mandatory Razor what we do slide. I'm not going to read this to you, but you can obviously see, those who have worked on this know that we do everything. The one thing I'd like to point out about this is really that the design of this speaks to the way that we work, and it's designed for a reason. Basically, everything revolves around digital transformation. And that's really at the core of everyone's business drivers these days. But to get there, you need to layer things on top of it, things like assessment, managed services, cloud solutions, data center. But really around all of them, you need to wrap proper security. So this is visualized in the way it is quite intentionally. And that's a large part of what we're talking about today, is really ensuring that everything you're offering to your customers is wrapped in security, has a common goal, a common approach, and is really delivering the best solutions that you can for your end users. So Jess, if you want to hit the next slide.
I will.
Excellent. So with that in mind, I'm going to be quiet. As I said, Jess is the subject matter expert here, so I'm going to let her take over and drive through the presentation. That said, if anyone has any questions or comments as we go along, we do like to make these events as interactive as possible. By all means, throw questions in the chat, and we'll circle around and answer them as they come up. So without further ado, Jess, it's all yours.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. And then real quick, is my screen showing the full screen for you all? Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, everything looks great.
Perfect. I am a little under the weather, so if my throat cuts out, I apologize. But hey, everyone, my name is Jessica Lask. I am a strategic cybersecurity specialist here at Cisco. And I'm really excited to join Razor and speak to you all and talk a little bit about our secure remote work for the small business sector. And again, our goal today is really just to kind of help give our businesses, your customers, that flexibility to thrive, especially during this pandemic right now. So what I want to quickly talk about is, just what the pandemic is kind of creating a need for focused and probably what you're seeing. I won't go through all of these stats, but what I do want to say is, and also real quick too, Tom, before I move into this, if you guys do put a question in the chat, Tom, just stop me and then I'll let us answer it. But moving forward, what we're seeing is the coronavirus pandemic essentially is creating a lasting impact on the future of work right now. And this is whether you consider how you enable your employees to work from home or create that trusted environment in the office. The way people's work right now is completely changing. And based on, these stats, we had a Gartner survey by the CFOs in May 2020. What we're finding and what they found is the shift right now from business continuity is actually shifting over to business resiliency. And that's what's top of mind for the CFOs right now and companies, and they're needing to invest in this resiliency plan. And organizations are starting to design for resilience as much as they do for efficiency right now. And most companies, they're focused on business resiliency and their product lines, but they're also focused on helping their employees transition into that workplace, whether it's remote or going back into the office. And why we're seeing this shift essentially is because, again, why we're seeing it designing from efficiency over to resiliency. Again, this is because it's no longer about business capabilities, it's about the outcome and the increased workforce productivity right now. So your employees need to be able to work and collaborate remotely and not have, large gaps in times of the day to where they're not communicating and business isn't moving. So before COVID, the focus was on efficiency, streamlining your roles, your customer supply chains, workflows, et cetera. And now the approach is now this approach is really unable to respond right now with this pandemic, and the up level that we're seeing with the productivity. So resilient organizations, now are better equipped. Oh, I'm sorry. Resilient organizations are better equipped right now to respond and just to those structural disruptions that are happening right now. Does anyone have a question? Okay, perfect. I will move on. So what Cisco's response is and what I want to talk about today is really the Cisco remote workforce and the Cisco trusted works place. And that's what we really have put in motion since this pandemic has started. We obviously have a very robust security integrated story, but we really want to focus on remote work right now and trusted workforce. So that's empowering our workers to be productive anywhere, optimizing their experience, their performance, and the security behind them. And then just from a trusted workplace and ensuring that these workers' safety and wellness, and then just expanding again that operational consistency across the environments to make sure again that business is moving and flowing and there's no gaps in that workflow. Does anyone have any questions right now or anything in the chat? All right, I will move forward. So what I want to quickly highlight is just some examples, of different industries, different companies that are really using these business resiliency plans to help continue fueling their business and continue to thrive. So from a secure remote workforce perspective, from education, we do have secure distance learning. So we want to extend learning environments to any student anywhere. So there's no gaps in knowledge. They're able to still see their students, et cetera. And they're not having to stress about whether or not they're learning. They're on track in school, essentially. And then we have banking, for example, and this is really bringing the full expertise, of the bank to every customer with those video consultants because they can't get over to the bank right now with COVID. And then from a trusted workplace, we have industrial. So we're trying to secure scalable remote access into the systems, need to run their operations, et cetera. And then really quickly, just from a healthcare perspective or retail, facilitating those integrated collaboration, to support those administrative, clinical services, also securing it in the back end. And then retail, enabling customers to find, order, and receive those products however they want in this time frame. So before I get into the ultimate R2 business resiliency plans, I just quickly want to highlight something that I think is really our niche in the market and what truly makes Cisco different from other vendors, et cetera. And that is because we are backed by Talos. And Talos really provides all of our customers, our Cisco solutions are powered by it, not just security. It provides unmatched visibility for us. So Cisco Talos, to highlight, is one of the largest commercial threat intelligence teams in the world. Um, this team literally is comprised of world-class researchers. We have analysts, engineers, industry leading people that are there to look at visibility. They're looking at actionable intelligence, and they're doing vulnerability research that's driving these rapid detections. And they're protecting our Cisco customers, against these emerging threats. And they're trying to stop them essentially in the wild to protect the internet at large. So what they see is 2.2 trillion artifacts daily, one of them being 175 billion from DNS entries just from clicking on those different IP addresses. So what they are here for you guys, for our customers, they're here fighting that good fight right now. And they're the ones that are proactively finding these problems, but they're also finding them, they're reporting them, and then they're removing these vulnerabilities in the software that our customers are using daily. Does anyone have any questions on that topic? Okay. And next slide. So before I again move into the workforce, again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to transform our businesses now with this pandemic, with all these changes. And we want to make sure that you guys understand, again, Cisco, a lot of people look to us, a lot of customers, to secure your networks. But we understand as your users and endpoints become more distributed, you're looking also at that, adding another layer of directly to secure them. And now you're having your data and your applications right now transitioning to the cloud. Basically, we understand that your challenge, you're looking for another layer to directly just secure those cloud edge and applications. So again, we've broadened our portfolio along with services and intelligence such as Talos that I just mentioned, to ensure that we're covering those areas that you care about and that we think are the most important now. And then we're also future-proofing it. So our goal is, for our customers to select we want you guys to be able to pick a platform provider that's going to be able to deliver that simplicity, visibility, and efficiency, and not just that efficiency and business resiliency at this point. So that's why every secure customer will have access to a platform, et cetera. We'll move into that later in this presentation, but I just want to quickly highlight that. And Tom, are there any questions in the chat?
No, not yet. But I did just want to point out, if we go back to that last slide, this is those of you that have had either the pleasure or displeasure, depending on how you view it, of having strategic planning discussions with me. This should be a recurring theme. This is one of the items that we always talk about in terms of limiting the breadth of your portfolio in terms of providers. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this, your ultimate goal should be to establish as much of a portfolio and a security landscape as you can in as few vendors as possible. And this will come back again later on in the presentation when we talk about some management layers. But I think this slide really illustrates the breadth of service that Cisco in particular can bring to the security arena. Basically touching all the areas that you need to lock down and take care of, and having that Talos intelligence layer underneath of it, really enabling all of them, is a key differentiator. So that I'll let you get back to where you were, Jess, but I just wanted to mention that it's always one of my key points in terms of how to design a security landscape.
Yes, exactly. That's perfect. And with that, kind of what Tom was mentioning, so what we've done with our secure remote workforce is we have built in 3 offers, 3 different work styles, for Razor to take advantage of you all with the customer standpoint, to provide the flexibility to also choose the right experience. But we do have 3 different packages from a resilient standpoint that we'll go over. So essentially, what we're going to do here is we want to set the foundation for both flexible remote access and, again, secure remote collaboration. Because I know a lot of people from, looking at me, I'm a cybersecurity specialist, but again, all of our capabilities have to be backed and secured. So collaboration is definitely in that suite as well. So keep that in mind. And this is why, you know, obviously we have to have a no compromise approach to securing the solution because there's so many different avenues. So the first tier that we will have is the essential work style one. Now, for you on the call, this one is essentially for frontline, your customers that might have task workers who require to acquire access maybe to applications, which are primarily cloud-based, and they're able to take advantage of our collaboration options with that. And then from a dual perspective, customers can still gain access to those specific applications in the data center and cloud. And I won't read the whole slide, but I'll just quickly touch on the tiers. And then from another resiliency perspective, we do have the advanced work style build. And this is on the essential foundation, but this is going to layer that AnyConnect virtual private network. And then it's going to allow you guys to have complete access to the data center and cloud applications, providing you full access to your network. So this one is best suited for workers if they're requiring maybe a high quality, frictionless type experience that's making working from home seem seamless versus working in the office. So no connection issues, collaborating with their teams, being able to get updates in real time. That is something that this is going to really help and drive and thrive those businesses. The last one, again, this is the premier one. This is one really that's a work style that's going to bring hardware onto the mix, and this is going to help optimized based on, you know, the ISR 1100. We have our Meraki MX's firewalls, and then just our enterprise access points is it what it's adding into there. So this is going to provide that almost basically a near office experience for our customers. So they're always on access. And then this is one that's perfect for like agents, supervisors who need to require some cognitive, collaborative, and intelligent contact center with their companies and their teams, et cetera, at home. So what I will say is all three of these do allow collaboration endpoints. Like I said, whether the desktop, whether you're using a Cisco DX or maybe hard phones, these are different resiliency plans that we wanted to put in place for you with these COVID challenges. And one thing to mention with Tom, again, if you are focused, if you are confused by these, because I know it's overwhelming, I'm overwhelmed sometimes when I look into them. You know, if you're confused, let's get with Razor, let's have a call with me. We can actually look into these work styles and see what best fits you, you know, to support your customers. We'll be able to help you guys choose the right mix of your guys' work style, you know, based on your specific requirements. And you can work with Razor and I to do that. So I really do encourage that if you are a little confused or just want to go a little bit deeper. And then this is what essentially the remote workforce looks like if you just want to see it from a visualization, from a visual aspect. So we have obviously the collaboration right here. You can see the DX as well as the phone, and then plus the multi-factor authentication, making sure that your users are who they say they are when they're on and working remote. We've umbrella that if your users are on and off the network, it's blocking them from maybe hitting malicious IPs, clicking on emails that are coming through, sophisticated hacks, perhaps as a malware coming through email or via internet. That's what's stopping it at that front line. And then just Cisco mailbox defense right here. This one's just scanning your emails, again, making sure there's nothing that's coming in from a threat vector side. And this is strictly because these 90% of breaches and endpoints are breaches, they come in through the endpoint. And the solution really provides a very unique security, I guess, almost like a surrounding your network essentially to protect your users. So any questions on that in the chat room, Tom?
No questions.
Okay, perfect. And if I'm talking too fast, just let me know to go slower because, you know. All right. So now what I want to quickly highlight again, so we have our remote workforce, you know, for small business. This is really here to help us with those challenges you saw in the beginning of the presentation, what the CFOs are experiencing, especially from more of the productivity side of the house. But now I want to move into more of the management side because again, we have the package solution, but the ultimate challenge is really for our customers and for you, I'm sure, is how do you actually manage it and how do you thrive from an operational expectations. So what we did, so our goal also with Cisco this past year, we just launched 3 months ago, was building a platform approach, was building a platform to solve, obviously our security industry's, most pressing challenges that we've been seeing, but we also, again, wanted to enable those better outcomes. And we were able to boil them down into 3 needs specifically. You guys are very familiar, again, with the efficiency standpoint. But again, what we've realized, these 3 tactics is, we understand that right now, not only do you need a business resiliency plan, but you also your team needs simplicity. So again, you don't want to spend more time and talent, integrating these investments that now you're going forward with. You want to be able to integrate and have an open platform that's going to simplify your existing ecosystem vendors, and it's going to be able to interoperable with those third-party solutions. And then what we understood was a huge, huge challenge was visibility. So teams need visibility. They need to counter attacks and stay compliant right now. They need to be able to answer in one unified view, not isolated alerts right now. And they have to be able to actually gain that contextual awareness across the security ecosystem, because your team needs to be able to share and coordinate these responses faster, quicker. And they need a system and a platform really to be able to enable them to do so. And then lastly, again, efficiency is always top of mind for us. A huge challenge is efficiency just from a platform perspective, evolving from those manual, a lot of you, I'm sure, or your customers that you support, they probably do have a lot of manual workflows. We want to evolve this from manual to automated with just a few clicks and faster remediation with better precision. So obviously, to gain efficiency, we understand that it's essential to eliminate that friction and that repetition in your processes. And from this standpoint, that just makes sense just from an overall, lowering your ongoing cost as, as a business. Are there any questions in the chat from that standpoint?
There are not.
Okay, I will move forward. So this is what I'm really excited to actually introduce you all, especially with our business resiliency tiers and work styles. We have introduced Securex to all of our customers. Razor has access to it as well to help you all adopt it, etc. And this is embedded with all of our security products. And you do have access to it if you have one of our security products currently in your environment. So please reach out to Razor after this. Me and Tom can help you adopt that essentially. So right here, again, we have a cloud native built-in platform experience that we've built within our portfolio. And what Securex is, this is kind of going to come in and this is going to transform the infrastructure, because what we're seeing is a disjointed solutions, you have into a fully integrated ecosystem. And we want to, it is going to be able there to build in capabilities across your portfolio and connect to third-party tools. So this is to enable intelligence sharing and coordinate responses, and it's preventing threats from bypassing overwhelmed security teams that cannot see the same views, different dashboards, all of that stuff. So we know, and again, we understand that you use other vendors besides Cisco. We're fully aware. So the reason, again, we wanted to build this platform, we wanted to prioritize Securex to be integrated with open work and open to work with every tool. So Cisco or otherwise right now, if you rely on Microsoft, maybe to store your identity, Splunk for data, to store data, essentially, ServiceNow for IT service management, or even just direct security competitors, great, that is completely fine. You can connect these into Securex. And that is a huge, huge, huge benefit to you guys as a customer from that standpoint. I don't think that there's actually any, or actually, I'll ask you guys to put in the chat, do you know any other cloud native platforms that you can actually simplify the security experience for both IT operations and the NetOps section, and as well as in the security operations segment, those teams blended together? Please, if you guys have a platform like that, please put it in the chat. But otherwise, Securex is not meant to be another technology layer. It's not meant to be, it's completely free. This is here to actually maximize the potential of your existing security solution. So we want you can start small. As you said, we have the 3 different work styles. And then with a single product, you can grow as your needs dictate and as the world is changing constantly. Anything in the chat?
So just one point, someone had asked, basically, and we touched on this briefly, but if it's integrated with, how far integrated with, an existing solution they have. Just to be clear, if you have Cisco security products, you have access to this. So given that, the customers that I see listed here, I know most of you have some security infrastructure from Cisco, so you already have access to Securex. Now, as with most things of this nature, there can be some some on-ramp challenges. There's a little bit of a learning curve. As Jess mentioned earlier, we're more than happy to help with that. Reach out and ask us about it, not only on the Cisco side, but as we said, things like ServiceNow, things like Splunk. This can really help you consolidate a lot of items into a single pane of glass for management and monitoring. So I know the next slide touches on that a little more, but the short answer is yes. If you're in the Cisco environment, you have a security apparatus, you're already eligible, and you already have Securex basically.
Yes, and please, like I said, utilize Razor and myself to help you adopt it. It takes 20 minutes. We can set up those open APIs into the system, because again, this is going to drastically help your just efficiency just from overall the teams, because I guarantee you they are overwhelmed and looking for something like this. So thank you for that, Tom. And so with that being said, again, Securex is that cloud. It's a cloud native security platform. And again, you're probably thinking, this is just another dashboard my team needs to adopt, but what I want you again to think is, let's think of this in a way, when incident does happen, do most of your tools work? Probably not. Your team probably puts in hours and hours to actually build out all of the needed bridges to actually centralize the data and then actually respond to the other teams, etc. So again, where Securex is unique from other platforms is it's, removing those bottlenecks essentially for you that slow down your team's, access to answers and actions. We've built in those back-end and front-end integrations, like I mentioned, so you don't have to. And then we also share and maintain context, around incidents by helping navigate your consoles with a consistent ribbon. And the other portion is that it's a customizable dashboard. So it helps empower you from an operational metrics, visibility and emerging threats. And then it's going to allow you to have access to new products in one click. So for example, say you might have a gap in your security posture that you might not know about. It could, present you with one of our key solutions that could be, something that you can input into your system to help, go faster, et cetera, or we can recommend, a plan, et cetera. But the goal is to accelerate investigations, again, with threat response. So we've also matured this over the past 2 years, and this is a core platform application. And then the other part is to automate those routine tasks with orchestration. So again, in this platform, we have provided pre-built workflows, again, to automate those workflows for you and your customers to common use cases or build your own no-low code drop canvas. Any questions from that standpoint? All right, now let's get into the integrations, because this is the last slide. This is my favorite, because again, like Tom mentioned, it is how do you manage it? How do you keep everything concise and consistent and be able to move fast? Again, not just from that business resiliency standpoint, but when you put that in place, how do you actually manage it? So meaningful integrations with your investments. I want to, right now in the chat, think of, or actually, I would love for you guys to actually think of how many vendors are you actually using in security, and put a number in the chat. And just keep that number in your head, because I can't see the chat right now. So just have it in there. But and now expand that all the infrastructure and systems that those security tools must work with to actually secure your business. Again, while Cisco's security portfolio is the broadest in the industry, we realize that we can't do everything, and that you're inevitably going to need other vendors to get the job done. So again, in addition to our solution level integrations, we've also made available via an open ecosystem of about 170 plus partners. So we're also developing new platform level integrations to connect with these third-party technologies as well. because again, it's important for us that they're meaningful for you. They're not just a simple, system log, data dump, etc. We want to, we don't want to stop. We're not just trying to save practitioners time spent on integrating new technologies, but again, we also want to enable everyone to build those workflows spanning throughout your whole infrastructure that's going to advance your security posture, maturity, and using what is in your environment, and not having to, essentially using, again, like I said, what's in your environment to use what you have, collaborate, and move faster, essentially. So that is the Securex and essentially our cybersecurity remote plan for the next coming months around the pandemic, and what I wanted to show everyone. So I'm super excited, but does anyone have any questions? That was my last slide, so we can take it over to questions.
Great, thanks. We don't have any questions coming up in the chat. If anyone wants to throw anything out there or jump on and actually start any conversation. Obviously, we wanted to leave a couple minutes here at the end to be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So by all means, don't be shy, speak up, and we'll be glad to go into detail.
Yes, any questions you have. I'm an open book. Or challenges, if you guys want to maybe come on and speak about challenges you've experienced, put that in the chat, what you're seeing in COVID. That would be perfect.
Wow, looks like we've got a resoundingly quiet group today.
It is completely fine. We can give it a minute or so, or Tom, if you want to let me know what you all want to do again. One thing I do want to just reinstate is that if you do have any of our Cisco security solutions in your environment and you have not seen the platform, please reach out to Razor, whether or not it could be, if it's in your infrastructure and you have not seen this, just reach out to us and we would love to just grab an SE, help you guys download it and implement it, just to kind of get the, just to see the platform essentially and make sure that you guys are leveraging something that's available to you right at this moment.
So we do have two questions that just popped up. The first one is basically whether or not Cisco provides special discount to nonprofit organizations, and I believe I have the answer to that, but Jessica, I believe you could probably speak better to it than me. The short answer is yes.
Yes, the short answer is yes. I will say that we do offer promotions, and then I can work with Razor as well for promotions for nonprofits, et cetera, to help you guys from that perspective. Razor's ultimately the one who will, obviously you guys quote out everyone, but we do offer promotional pricing, yes. And I'll let you take that question, Tom.
Great. The next one is basically what are the costs relative to the industry, and this is actually a good point to kind of bring home a little bit about what we mentioned earlier. Part of the reason that we part of the prep for this is going through our standard collateral, our slide decks, and figuring out what areas we want to put in, what areas we want to keep out, and where we want to speak to. And there's a reason that we talked about bundles earlier, and that is that when we talked about kind of how the landscape is changing, what because of COVID and everything over the last year, what we found is a lot of customers it needed to revisit certain areas of their portfolio based on kind of a changing overall approach to remote workers. So as an example, we previously may have had people that they didn't quite do two-factor for everybody because they had captive workers on site, and they were on a controlled network, or maybe not everybody had WebEx accounts because they didn't need them, they weren't working remote, they weren't hosting virtual meetings. That's all out the window now. So basically what we're seeing is people that are coming back saying, well, I used to maintain a WebEx subscription for X amount of my population, and then I did AMP for X, for Y amount, and now I've got all these products that because I used to have different classes of workers or different classes of employees, for the most part, we're now seeing people that, well, I need to provide everything for everyone because we've had to adjust the way that we work. And, take a bank, for example. A year ago I had tellers and they didn't necessarily need all of these solutions because they were in a branch and they were doing their thing on site all day. And when they went home, they got done. In banking in particular, we've seen, a couple of small banks that, as part of this, obviously, that their retail operations were not running to what they were before the pandemic. But what they don't want to do is, nobody wanted to reduce staff. They wanted to reuse wherever possible. So you've got this whole swath of the workforce that is still part of your environment, part of your company, but they're doing drastically different roles. So people more or less need to look at everyone universally and provide the same suite of solutions to everyone. And that's just a different outlook from what we were doing a year ago. So that's where, those bundles that we talked about earlier aim to simplify a lot of things. So, we no longer now need to go, we need so many WebEx subscriptions, so many duos. We can basically roll everything together, and, bundling being as it is, basically helps you be more cost effective and provide universal coverage for all of your workers who are quite probably doing something that looks substantially different than they were a year ago today. And that's something that we have been helping people talk about, and helping work through the most efficient way to do so, looking at what your portfolio looks like, what you were purchasing and what you were maintaining before, and how we can map that into a better packaged and more robust scenarios. You can actually pick up some functionality and expand it across the workforce.
Exactly.
All right. Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns? So Joe asks if you need to go through Razor or if you can go direct with Cisco. Obviously, we prefer to work with you, but depending on how your relationships work right now, if you are a direct consumer, then obviously you don't need to change that. We do like to think that we add a little value on top of that in a lot of cases. But certainly you don't need to shift your consumption model in any way to take advantage of any of these.
Yes, and I can actually tag on to that. Again, I would recommend, if you haven't seen this platform, even if perhaps you have it in your environment and another partner that you're working with hasn't helped you adopt it, still utilize Razor for that, because again, you want to be able for someone to take you through it and take the time. So if you're not getting that, I would recommend, working with Razor, et cetera. If you haven't seen this dashboard has been out for almost 4 months. So I just want to make sure that you guys have a partner too that's really helping you adopt it and actually putting the processes in place so you guys are moving quicker, and it's not just sitting there in limbo essentially. So I hope that makes sense, but you can always come directly to me as well.
Great. We've got one more question relative to basically some of the features that may be covered with other product lines, in particular MFA and email security being part of, say, an Office 365 license or subscription, and whether or not some of these solutions would replace those. The answer that I would say there is that there is some overlap, and there's certainly some occasion to either supplement or replace, as the case may be. We found a number of people, again, doing that kind of assessment, seeing where they can package things together and reduce their overall purchasing landscape. It's not, there are some cases where, as I said, you're going to replace. We oftentimes find that, a lot of these solutions are complementary. As we mentioned in the Securex slide, for example, Cisco is their products are open and integrated, so they can definitely work with other platforms like that. It's not necessarily an either or. There are certain things that are, as I said, better to think about from a supplemental point of view. But it's kind of a scenario that we like to look at in each individual situation and try and determine what's best for you as a customer, whether to augment, supplement, or replace, as the case may be. So I know we're coming up on time here. It looks like we may have run through the questions anyone had. That said, if you have any additional questions, by all means, we encourage you to reach out. Our contact information, I believe, is available to everyone and was shared as part of the materials here. So by all means, reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to schedule a meeting and discussion, talk through some or all of this, and basically help you get to where you need to be.
Yes, thank you, everyone. It was great talking to you all.
All right, well, if no one has anything further, we'll call it a few minutes early and let you get a couple extra minutes in your day. Once again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.